Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really crucial journey. We've got a stack of incredible insights here from a certified public accountant.
That's right.
And our mission, well, it's to peel back the layers on something that affects absolutely everyone, your personal finances.
Yeah.
But let's be clear, this isn't just about, crunching numbers or staring at spreadsheets.
Yeah.
It's really about empowerment, finding clarity, and truly equipping you with the knowledge to make smarter financial decisions,
Yeah,
like every single day.
exactly. Our goal for this deep dive is to distill these financial concepts, which can often feel pretty complex, maybe even overwhelming, into practical, actionable steps, things you can actually implement, like right away.
Right?
We'll be looking at, well, everything from how you manage your day-to-day cash flow to smart tax strategies that can save you real money.
Yeah. Tax strategies sound good.
Definitely. And building a strong credit foundation, which is huge. And even tackling those really big life decisions like buying a home or planning for retirement. Think of this as your maybe personalized shortcut to becoming incredibly well-informed and hopefully confident about your own financial future.
Yeah, confident is key. So whether you're just starting out on your financial journey, maybe looking to optimize what you already have going on, or maybe you're just curious about how to navigate this whole financial landscape, prepare for some genuine aha moments today.
Mhm.
We're here to help you turn information into tangible action, giving you the tools to take control and really unlock your unique financial blueprint.
Okay, let's kick things off with a really foundational concept from our sources. It's about these three distinct paths your money can take.
Right.
And it's a remarkably powerful way to frame where you stand right now and maybe more importantly, where you genuinely want to go. Expert, let's unpack this a bit. What are these paths and why is understanding them so critical right at the start? Yeah, you've hit on something really fundamental. Imagine your financial journey like a road. Our sources highlight that you're always moving in one of three directions. You're either moving backward, you're standing still, or you're moving forward.
Okay.
And before you can intentionally, chart a course for change, you simply must know which of these paths you're currently on. It's step one.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's the first path? The bad one.
Yeah. The first path, which is unfortunately the most detrimental, is destroying wealth. This happens when you consistently spend more money than you actually make.
Right. Spending more than you earn.
Exactly. How does this show up in real life? Well, it often involves dipping into your hard-earned savings just to cover, current consumption. Or maybe even worse, selling off valuable assets like stocks or property to fund your daily lifestyle.
Wow. Selling assets just to live day to day.
Yeah. But critically, and this is maybe the most common way people find themselves here, it's by going deeper into debt. We're talking credit cards, personal loans, even car loans. Debt used to finance a lifestyle you genuinely cannot afford.
Like the fancy car example.
Exactly. Think about the person who buys a new luxury car on a loan, not because they need it for work, but because they feel they deserve it, even if those payments stretch their budget to the absolute breaking point. Why this matters so profoundly. This isn't just about living paycheck to paycheck. It's actively eroding your net worth.
Okay.
You're not just failing to progress, you're actively regressing financially. You're creating this negative feedback loop where high interest debt compounds and just makes it harder and harder to break free. It's a really difficult hole to dig yourself out of.
Yeah, that sounds tough. Okay, what's the second path?
Then there's the second path, which a lot of people find themselves on without even realizing it. It's getting stuck, or as our sources really aptly put it, being on the financial hamster wheel.
Ah, the hamster wheel. I've heard that one.
Right. This is the situation where you're spending exactly what you make. Money comes in, money goes out, and there's absolutely nothing left over at the end of the month.
Okay.
So you might not be actively losing money or piling up toxic debt like in the first path, but you're certainly not building any wealth either. And this leaves you incredibly vulnerable.
Vulnerable how?
Well, you're exposed to the erosive effects of inflation, right?
Right.
Which constantly reduces your purchasing power. You're highly susceptible to economic shifts like a sudden job loss or, unexpected expenses, a major medical emergency, a car broke down, a home repair, any of those things.
Got it. No cushion.
Exactly.
Okay.
No cushions, like running hard on a treadmill, but staying perpetually in the same place.
Okay.
And this leads to immense frustration, right? A feeling of working tirelessly, but getting absolutely nowhere financially. It's a position that, while not immediately destructive, definitely prevents any kind of future security or growth.
Okay, so destroying wealth, getting stuck with the goal. The third path.
The ultimate goal, the most desirable destination, the path we all really want to be on, is growing wealth.
Right.
This is achieved simply by consistently spending less money than you make. The crucial difference here is the deliberate creation of a surplus.
A surplus, okay.
Yeah, this leftover money isn't just sitting idly in a checking account. It's consciously and strategically saved or invested into assets that are designed to generate income or appreciate in value over time. This surplus is the true engine of wealth building. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The powerful concept of compounding. It ensures that your money starts working for you, generating more money, which in turn generates even more money. It creates this powerful snowball effect that accelerates over time.
Right, the magic of compounding.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating here and really encouraging is that this path is accessible to virtually anyone you know, regardless of their current income level. The emphasis isn't on how much money you earn, but rather on your disciplined ability to create and consistently manage a surplus.
So it's about the gap, not the income number itself.
Precisely. Whether it's a small amount like $50 or a larger one, that consistent surplus is the absolute key to moving forward and achieving genuine financial freedom.
So what this all boils down to, for you listening right now, is that the very first step toward any real financial change is truly understanding which path you're on. Because self-awareness in this context is really the crucial starting point. You just can't chart a course to a new, better financial destination if you don't know precisely where you're starting from. Hashtag 1.2, the power of tracking your money beyond budgeting. Expert, the word budgeting has kind of a bad rap. People often associate it with restriction, deprivation.
Yeah, it sounds negative.
Exactly,
Wow.
feeling constantly guilty. But our sources introduced this really liberating alternative, simply tracking your money.
Yeah.
How is that truly different? What's the fundamental shift in mindset you're talking about? And, how does it practically change someone's relationship with their money compared to that old school budgeting idea?
That's an excellent point. And the distinction between budgeting and tracking isn't just semantics. It's like a fundamental paradigm shift. Budgeting often carries those negative connotations, right? It implies imposing limits, like a strict financial diet where you're always telling yourself no.
Right, like a diet. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, and it can feel punitive, which makes it really hard to stick to long term. Tracking, however, is a foundational accounting process. It's not about deprivation at all. It's about gaining a crystal clear, accurate, and undeniable picture of your financial reality.
Okay, just seeing where it goes.
Exactly. The core idea from our sources is that while traditional budgeting might be optional for some, maybe it doesn't suit everyone's personality or lifestyle. Accounting for your money is absolutely required if you want to build wealth. Without this clear accounting, you're essentially flying blind, making decisions based on assumptions rather than, actual facts.
So what do you need to track?
Well, to achieve this clarity, there are two key factors you absolutely must know with precision. First, precisely how much money you are making each month or each pay period. And second, exactly how much money you are spending.
Income and outgo. Simple.
Simple, but crucial. Without these two fundamental pieces of data, you cannot truly know where you stand financially. You're left with rough estimates or guesswork, which, when it comes to your financial future, is a dangerous and unproductive place to be. It's like trying to bake a cake without knowing the quantities of your ingredients. It just won't work out well.
Makes sense. And how detailed does this tracking need to be?
While our sources strongly advocate for categorization when tracking your expenses, this means breaking down your spending into specific, logical categories. Things like rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, dining out, entertainment, subscriptions, you name it.
Okay, so not just one big spending number.
Definitely not. Why does this matter so much? Because this detailed breakdown allows you to easily spot areas where adjustments can be made. It moves you beyond that vague sense of, gosh, I spend too much, to a tangible understanding like, wow, I spent $600 on dining out last month and I only thought it was maybe $250.
Right. Those little things add up.
They really do. This makes financial improvements concrete, tangible, and far less overwhelming. It transforms abstract numbers into actionable insights. You see exactly where your money is flowing, rather than just wondering where it disappeared to.
And how often should you do this?
Yeah.
Daily, weekly.
As for frequency and tools, a monthly basis for tracking is highly recommended by our sources. It's frequent enough to keep you on course and allow for timely adjustments if you're veering off track, but not so frequent that it becomes an overwhelming daily chore.
Okay, monthly sounds manageable.
Yeah, you want it to be sustainable for the long haul. And the tools can be incredibly simple. Our sources even mention a free spreadsheet template, something anyone can pick up and use. Or, you could opt for a dedicated app or software if that suits your preference for automation. There are tons of them out there.
Right.
The key, though, regardless of the tool, is consistency and accuracy. The ultimate goal, and this connects right back to our first point about the three paths, is to consistently identify or create a surplus each month. Even if you're currently in a deficit, just knowing where you stand is the first vital step toward making concrete progress.
So it's not about perfection right away.
Not at all. This isn't about making drastic, painful changes overnight. It's more about starting small, gaining momentum, and consistently moving in the right direction. It's really financial mindfulness in action.
That's powerful. This approach really does shift the mindset. It goes from feeling restricted and guilty about your choices to gaining powerful clarity and genuine control. It's about making mindful decisions, not feeling bad for enjoying your life after you've taken care of your financial responsibilities. Sounds like an absolutely essential first step for anyone wanting to get a handle on their finances. Okay, so once you've established this habit of tracking your income and expenses, really knowing the numbers, the next crucial step is proactively managing your money when it actually comes in, like on payday.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources outline what they call a smart payday routine that brings immediate structure and intention to your finances. Expert, walk us through these four priorities. What are they?
Yeah. This routine is basically a systematic, almost automatic way to allocate your income. It ensures that your financial health and your future are prioritized before you even think about, discretionary spending. It's about being intentional with every single dollar that comes into your account.
Okay, priority number one.
The first and absolutely most non-negotiable step is priority one. Necessities. As soon as your paycheck lands in your account, the very first thing you do is allocate funds for all your essential bills.
Rent, food, the basics.
Exactly. This includes your rent or mortgage payment, utilities like electricity and water, groceries to feed yourself and your family, transportation to get to work, insurance, any other core needs that keep a roof over your head and food on the table. And it's really vital here to clearly distinguish between genuine needs, things you absolutely must pay for your basic survival and well-being, and wants.
Right. Needs versus wants. That can be tricky sometimes.
It can be. Wants are desires and conveniences that, while enjoyable, aren't strictly essential for survival. Our sources suggest referring back to that monthly tracking spreadsheet you've set up to ensure you know precisely what these necessities entail, making sure nothing gets overlooked.
Okay, necessities covered. What's next?
After necessities are taken care of, we move to priority two, investing, or your don't touch money. This is truly where wealth building begins in earnest.
The growth engine.
Exactly. Dedicate a specific amount each month to invest. This money should be funneled into separate brokerage accounts or maybe savings accounts specifically earmarked for long-term investing and asset building. And here's where it gets really interesting and often overlooked.
Tell me.
Even seemingly small amounts, like $50 or maybe $200 a month, if started early and contributed consistently, can compound significantly over time. They can become really substantial sums decades down the line.
Yeah, that compounding effect again.
Right. And the magic here is the automation emphasized by the sources. Have the money automatically transferred to these investment accounts as soon as you get paid.
Set it and forget it.
Precisely. This is often called the pay yourself first method, and it works powerfully by keeping that money out of sight and out of mind, making it far easier to resist the temptation of overspending it. It's about making your future self a non-negotiable priority, just like paying your rent.
Okay, necessities, investing. Priority three.
Next up is priority three, specific savings or debt reduction principle. So, with the money remaining after you've covered your necessities and allocated funds for long-term investing, you then set aside money for specific, maybe more immediate financial goals.
Like a down payment or a vacation.
Exactly. This could be saving for a significant purchase like a new car, building up a down payment on a home, funding that dream vacation, or even just replacing a worn-out phone. Alternatively, and often even more impactful depending on your situation, this money can be strategically used to pay down the principal on existing debts that are not, high-interest consumer debt.
So like student loans or a car loan.
Right. We're talking about accelerating payments on auto loans, student loans, or other installment debts. Even a small additional amount here beyond your minimum payments can significantly accelerate debt payoff and save you substantial money in interest over time. The key is to make this a realistic amount that you can consistently contribute month after month.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, what's left?
Finally, we arrive at priority 4, guilt-free spending.
Ah, the fun money.
Exactly. Whatever money is left over after you've diligently allocated funds to the first 3 priorities is your guilt-free spending money. This is for fun, entertainment, conveniences, shopping, dining out, truly enjoying life without remorse or that nagging financial anxiety.
That sounds good. Guilt-free.
Yeah. Well, why it matters so much. This philosophy promotes living a balanced and, importantly, sustainable financial life. You've responsibly taken care of your foundational financial obligations, you've diligently built wealth for your future, and now you can enjoy the fruits of your labor without that feeling of guilt.
Right.
Our sources also suggest that even in this category, it's wise to try and maximize the fun per dollar, ensuring you still get the most enjoyment out of your discretionary spending. And hey, if there's money left over in this guilt-free category at the end of the month, you have the flexibility. You can roll it over to next month's wants, maybe use it for further debt reduction, or even add it to your investments for an extra boost.
I like that. It really brings structure and intention to your finances. It shifts you from just reacting to your bank balance to proactively building wealth. It gives you a clear, actionable roadmap for where every single dollar goes, ensuring that your money is working for you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Hashtag, tag, tag 1.4, avoiding common money traps. Okay, so we've talked about establishing these really good habits, tracking the payday routine, but it's equally important to identify and proactively avoid these common pitfalls, right?
Yeah.
Things that can fundamentally undermine your financial progress no matter how much you earn.
Absolutely.
Our sources really highlight some insidious bad money habits. Expert, what are some of these traps that people often fall into, maybe without even realizing it?
That's right. And these aren't just minor missteps, they are active sabotages to your journey toward financial freedom. The first one, and it's a really big one, is lifestyle inflation, or sometimes called lifestyle creep.
Ah, yes. Lifestyle creep. Heard of that.
Yeah. This happens when your spending increases proportionally, or sometimes even faster, than your income. As you start making more money, you naturally begin spending more. And this is often rationalized with phrases like, oh, I deserve to treat myself, or I work hard, I should play hard.
Sure, that sounds familiar.
Right. Our sources provide a really powerful anecdote to illustrate this. Imagine a person making, say, $40,000 a year who spends almost all of it on essentials, leaving basically nothing for savings or investments. Now compare them to a friend making $120,000 a year, 3 times more, but who spends all of that on a nicer home, a luxury car, expensive dinners, frequent entertainment. Both individuals, despite their vastly different incomes, end up living paycheck to paycheck with nothing left to save or invest.
Wow, so the higher earner is just as stuck.
Exactly. This clearly shows that it's about the gap between your income and your spending, not just the income number itself, that determines your ability to build wealth. It's this constant battle to resist upgrading your entire life every single time your income increases.
That's a huge one. Okay, what else?
Another significant trap is spending to show off or elevate status. This involves wasting hard-earned money on items or experiences solely for the purpose of impressing other people or, boosting one's ego.
Keeping up with the Joneses, basically.
Exactly. Examples given include things like expensive bottle service at exclusive clubs or carrying luxury brand luggage, like those Louis Vuitton duffel bags, simply because of the visible logo. The core insight here is that such spending rarely buys true friends or genuine respect. In fact, it often attracts the wrong crowd people who are more interested in what you have than who you are.
Yeah, good point.
This type of spending is frequently described as an expense of regrets because it actively sets you back financially without delivering any lasting fulfillment or true value. It's really an empty pursuit.
Okay, so avoiding lifestyle creep, avoiding spending to impress. What's next?
Loading up on bad debt is a critical pitfall. And here we're talking primarily about high-interest consumer debt.
Credit cards again.
Credit cards are the prime example, yes, but also car payments, especially on luxury vehicles that rapidly depreciate. Our sources highlight the stark financial illogicality here. It makes absolutely no sense to try and earn, say, a modest 8–10% return in the stock market while you're simultaneously paying exorbitant interest rates like 20% or even 27% on your credit card debt.
Right, the math just doesn't work.
It doesn't. This kind of debt acts as a massive drag on any wealth creation efforts you might be making. It's like trying to row a boat forward while someone else is pulling you backward with a strong rope. You're just working against yourself.
Okay, bad debt. Got it.
The habit of not tracking your spending also reappears here as a common trap, which just reiterates its fundamental importance.
Back to tracking.
Exactly. If you don't have a clear, accurate picture of where your money is truly going, you simply cannot make informed decisions or implement effective improvements to your financial situation. It's like trying to navigate a complex journey without a map, relying solely on guesswork. Without this basic accounting, you remain ignorant, and that ignorance actively prevents you from building wealth. You can't fix what you can't see.
True. And the last trap.
Finally, making excuses for not saving or investing is a huge trap. This often manifests as dismissing small amounts like that $50 or $100 a month as insignificant. People think, what difference will that really make?
Yeah, I can see people thinking that.
But our sources strongly emphasize the immense power of compounding. Even small, consistent contributions, especially when started early in life, build up far more quickly and substantially than many people realize. It's often the consistency over the quantity, especially initially, that truly makes the difference.
Consistency is key.
Yes, and automation is highlighted again as a crucial tool here. Automate those savings or investments to overcome the temptation to spend the money. Ensure it gets saved or invested before you even have a chance to see it in your checking account. That out of sight, out of mind principle we discussed, it really applies here too.
These habits really are not just detrimental. They actively sabotage your journey toward financial freedom. And recognizing them for what they are seems like the absolutely critical first step toward breaking free from their grip.
Exactly. Awareness is the first step. Hashtag tag 2. Optimizing your tax and debt landscape.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Taxes. They can feel incredibly daunting, right? Like a complex maze of forms and regulations.
Definitely a source of stress for many.
But understanding a few key principles can genuinely put you in the driver's seat, allowing you to tailor your approach to your own financial goals. Expert, let's try and demystify this debate around tax refunds versus owing the IRS. What's the CPA's perspective here in our sources? It's a big refund, good or bad?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is one of the most common debates in personal finance, and there are strong opinions on both sides. Our sources, and indeed the CPA himself, openly recommend aiming for a tax refund, often somewhere around the average, maybe $1,700 to $2,000.
Okay, so aiming for a refund. But wait, isn't that just giving the government an interest-free loan? I hear that all the time.
And you're right, technically it is. That argument holds water mathematically. However, the practical reality for most people, according to the source, is that the lost opportunity cost, earning maybe $60 a year on that $2,000 at a 4% interest rate after taxes is minimal.
$50.
Yeah, it's not life-changing money for most. And this small potential financial sacrifice often pales in comparison to the significant peace of mind you get. And crucially, the avoidance of a sneaky underpayment penalty from the IRS.
The penalty. Tell me about that.
We'll get to that. But first, for millions of Americans, a tax refund actually acts as a powerful forced savings mechanism. It provides a lump sum that can be used for larger purchases, maybe significant debt reduction, or building up an emergency fund, things they might not have managed to save for otherwise throughout the year. It's kind of a behavioral hack, in a way.
Okay, I can see that. I'm like a little bonus you forgot about.
Exactly. Now, regarding those underpayment penalties, the IRS isn't shy about them. They charge penalties for not filing your tax return on time. That's a hefty 5% per month of the balance due. And they also charge penalties for not paying on time. That's 0.5% per month of the balance due, plus interest on top of that.
Ouch. So procrastination can cost you.
It definitely can dig you into a deeper financial hole. However, it's worth noting, and this is interesting, the IRS can be surprisingly lenient with penalty forgiveness, especially if you have a history of timely payments and filings. The best approach, as our source advises, is to actually call the IRS first to request forgiveness. Explain your situation calmly, politely. Then, importantly, follow up in writing if needed to document your request.
So you could ask for forgiveness.
Yes, they have the discretion to waive these penalties, especially for like a first-time issue or if you had a reasonable cause. Don't just ignore the notice if you get one.
Good tip. Okay, so how do you control whether you get a refund or owe money?
Perhaps the most powerful tool you have to control your tax outcome throughout the year is your W-4 form.
Right. The form you fill out when you start a job.
Exactly. Or you can update it anytime. This form dictates how much tax is withheld from each of your paychecks. It gives you direct control over whether you end up with a refund, owe money, or pretty much break even at tax time.
Okay. How do you aim for break even?
If your goal is to break even, meaning you want to have paid in precisely the right amount of taxes throughout the year, so you neither owe nor get a large refund, you simply fill out the W-4 form correctly. Answer the questions accurately for your specific situation, like number of jobs, dependents, other income. The IRS form is actually designed to guide you to this outcome if you follow the instructions.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. But what if you want to owe money? Like keep more cash during the year?
Right. If you're someone who wants a big balance due at tax time, meaning you want as much of your money in your paycheck as possible throughout the year, even if it means writing a big check to the IRS in April, you can actually write exempt under Step 4C of the W-4.
Exempt. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This instructs your employer to withhold no federal taxes. It's important to note the IRS doesn't make this option super obvious or easy to find because naturally they prefer you pay taxes consistently throughout the year.
Fish.
But it is there for those who truly want every penny up front, maybe to invest it immediately or manage cash flow differently. Just be absolutely prepared for that tax bill come April.
Right. No surprises. What about owing just a little bit?
For a small balance due, where you want to underwithhold slightly but not excessively, the easiest method our source suggests is to input a specific dollar value in Step 3 of the W-4. That's the section for qualifying children other dependents. Even if you don't have dependents, the instructions clarify that this section can be used for any other credits or reduction in tax you anticipate. Whatever number you put there will reduce your annual federal withholding by that amount, spread evenly across your paychecks.
Oh, okay. Sneaky.
It gives you a little extra cash flow without a huge surprise bill.
Okay. And the opposite. Getting a refund, small or big.
Conversely, if you desire a small or even a big refund, you simply need to overwithhold. On Step 4C of the W-4, the same place you'd write exempt, you can instead write in an additional amount per paycheck that you want withheld.
Just put a dollar amount there.
Exactly. For a bigger refund, you'd put a higher value there. This ensures that you consistently pay more taxes throughout the year than you strictly owe, resulting in that nice refund when you file your return. As we said, many people find this provides a sense of security and acts like that forced savings mechanism.
Yeah, it's incredibly clear. This understanding truly empowers you, the listener. It allows you to tailor your tax payments to your specific financial strategy rather than just letting the system dictate it for you. Puts you in control.
Precisely. Hashtag 2.2 actionable tax strategies for everyone.
Expert. Okay. Beyond just understanding the basics of withholding with the W-4, our sources uncover some specific, totally legitimate strategies everyone can use right now to legally reduce their tax bill, like keep more of their hard-earned money. This isn't about shady loopholes. These are legitimate tax hacks that are often overlooked. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. And you're right. These are perfectly legal ways to optimize. Many of them do require action before the year ends, typically by December 31st, to impact your current tax year. So timing is key for some of these. Let's dive into some powerful ones.
Okay, lay them on me.
First, there's the Savers Credit. Officially, it's called the Retirement Savings Contributions Credit. This is a powerful, yet unfortunately incredibly underutilized tax break.
Savers credit.
Yeah.
Okay. How does it work?
If you're single and your adjusted gross income AGI is under roughly $32,500, or if you're married, filing jointly with a combined AGI under about $65,000. Now, these were 2020 numbers. They adjust for inflation, so you always need to check the current limits.
Got it. Check the limit.
Right. But if you fall under those limits, you can receive a direct tax credit, not just a deduction, a credit of up to $1,000 if you're single or $2,000 if you're married filing jointly, simply for contributing money to retirement accounts, like a 401k, 457, 403b, or an IRA.
Wow. Credit just for saving for retirement.
Exactly. The key insight here, which is kind of shocking, is that studies show less than 10% of Americans even know about this credit.
10%.
Yeah, meaning many are missing out on essentially free money for their retirement savings. It's a huge opportunity, especially for moderate and low income earners, and it puts cash directly back into your pocket or reduces your tax liability dollar for dollar.
That's amazing. Okay, what else?
Next, consider the 0% long-term capital gains rate.
0% tax. That sounds too good to be true.
It sounds like it, but it's real. This fantastic rule allows you to sell stocks or cryptocurrency that you've held for over a year, that's a long-term part, for a 0% federal income tax rate on your profits.
Okay, but there must be a catch.
There is an income catch. This applies if your overall taxable income, including your standard deduction, falls below certain thresholds, approximately $60,000 for a single filer, or about $120,000 for those married filing jointly. Again, these numbers adjust. Check current figures.
So for lower to middle income brackets mainly.
Correct. Why it matters. This is a huge tax break, as our source calls it, that allows you to lock in tax-free gains. It's especially valuable if you happen to have a year where your income is lower than usual. Maybe you were between jobs or took a sabbatical. Now, state income taxes might still apply in some places, but some states have no income tax, making it truly zero overall. You could potentially sell appreciated assets without federal tax implications, then maybe immediately repurchase them if you believe in their long-term growth, effectively resetting your cost basis higher without paying tax.
Interesting strategy. Okay, what about education?
For those planning for education expenses, 529 plans are incredibly valuable. You can contribute money into a 529 plan, often needing to do so by December 31st, to potentially get a state tax deduction.
Yeah.
Most states that have income tax offer this deduction.
So a state tax break.
Yes. Plus, the earnings within a 529 plan grow tax-free, and all withdrawals are completely tax-free if used for qualified education expenses, tuition, fees, books, room and board sometimes. Our source shares a neat anecdote about a client who strategically saved $500 in state income taxes. He contributed to his 529 plan for his own MBA tuition, and then immediately withdrew it to pay the school.
Huh. Clever.
Yeah, it was a smart way to leverage the state deduction for current expenses. An added flexibility is that beneficiaries can be switched. If the original child doesn't end up going to college, you can change it to another family member, making it a versatile tool for family education planning.
Good to know. What if my investments went down? Any breaks there?
Yes. If you've experienced losses in your investments, tax loss harvesting is a smart strategy to turn those losses into tax benefits. By selling losing stock or crypto positions by December 31st, you can claim a loss deduction which directly reduces your taxable income.
Okay, how much can you deduct?
You can deduct up to $3,000 of net capital losses against your ordinary income each year. And if you have more losses than that, any excess can be carried forward indefinitely to offset future gains, or up to $3,000 of income per year. However, there's a crucial warning here: the wash sale rule.
The wash sale rule. Heard of that?
Yeah. It prohibits you from repurchasing the same stock or a substantially identical security within 30 days before or after the sale where you claimed the loss. If you violate this rule, you cannot claim the loss for tax purposes in that year.
Okay, so you have to wait 31 days to buy it back.
Essentially, yes. Careful timing and understanding of what counts as substantially identical are essential to make this strategy effective. Don't just sell and immediately buy back.
Got it. Any special tricks for business owners?
Yes, for sole proprietors or business owners, there's a unique one. The minimal rental use rule, also charmingly known as the 14-day rule.
14-day rule.
Yeah. If you're a sole proprietor or business owner, you can actually rent out your own home to your business for 14 days or less per year. The income you receive from your business for this rental is 100% tax-free to you personally.
Whoa, really? Tax-free?
Tax-free personally. And your business gets a legitimate tax deduction for the rental expense. This is completely separate from the home office deduction. It's a fantastic, legitimate way to legally move money from a taxable business expense to tax-free personal income. Imagine hosting your annual business planning meeting at your house, documenting it properly, deducting the fair market value of the rental to your business, and that money comes back to you tax-free.
That sounds amazing. Okay, what else for business owners?
And speaking of business owners, timing your expenses or front-loading can be incredibly effective, especially as year-end approaches. If you're self-employed, a gig worker, or a business owner, and you know you're going to incur certain business expenses in, say, January or February of the new year, consider paying them by December 31st of the current year.
Pay early. Wow.
This accelerates your deductions. It allows you to claim the write-off in the current tax year instead of waiting another 12 months for the next tax filing. This applies to things like annual software subscriptions, maybe prepaying rent if allowed, utilities, buying a new laptop or other electronics needed for the business, or stocking up on office supplies. As long as the payment is initiated or mailed by year-end.
Okay, but don't just spend money for the sake of it, right?
Exactly. The caveat, of course, is that you should only do this if your cash flow genuinely allows for it, and it's for legitimate business expenses you are going to incur anyway. Don't just spend money to get a deduction. Spend money you're especially for those who give back. The charitable contribution deduction. In 2020, there was a significant rule change that allowed everyone to deduct at least some charitable contributions, not just those who itemize their deductions. This makes the deduction accessible to more people.
Even if you take the standard deduction.
Yes, there was a special provision for that, though the rules can change year to year, so always check the current year's rules. But the principle is, remember to keep your receipts for all contributions, whether cash or non-cash items like donated goods, to substantiate your deduction. Every little bit helps.
Good reminder. Keep those receipts. What about health expenses?
Health savings accounts, HSAs, are incredibly powerful tools, often called a triple tax advantage account.
Triple tax advantage. How so?
Okay, first, if you have a qualifying high-deductible health plan, you can contribute to an HSA. Those contributions are tax-deductible, that's Advantage 1. And unlike some other deadlines, you can even make contributions for the prior year up until April 15th of the current year.
Good deductible contributions.
Second, the money within the HSA grows tax-free, Advantage 2. And third, withdrawals are completely tax-free if used for qualified medical expenses, Advantage 3.
Deductible in, grows tax-free out for medical. Wow.
Exactly. And crucially, the money doesn't expire. It's not a use it or lose it situation like flexible spending accounts, FSAs. This means you can save up medical receipts, pay out of pocket now, and then reimburse yourself years later, allowing the funds to grow tax-free for potentially decades. It can even become a sort of stealth retirement account if you don't need it for medical costs earlier.
The HSAs sound amazing. Anything else quick?
Finally, don't overlook things readily available at work. Commuter benefits and workplace retirement plans. Many workplaces offer commuter benefits, allowing you to spend up to, say, $300 a month tax-free on mass transit, ride-sharing services like Uber or Lyft for your commute, parking meters, and parking garages.
$300 a month tax-free.
Potentially, yes. Check your employer's plan. This effectively functions as a significant annual tax deduction, saving you taxes on up to $3,600 of your income per year. And of course, consistently contributing to your workplace retirement plans like a 401k or 403b immediately lowers your taxable income if it's a traditional plan. For every dollar you put in pre-tax, you reduce your taxable income, providing a direct tax benefit while simultaneously building your retirement nest egg. It's a definite win-win.
These strategies really show that taxes aren't just something that happens to you. They're something you can actively manage. These aren't just for the ultra-wealthy. They're legitimate, accessible ways for you to legally reduce your tax burden and keep more of your hard-earned money. It's about unlocking your financial blueprint by understanding the rules of the game.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power here. Hashtag TaxChack 2.3, managing debt strategically.
Okay, let's pivot to another area that causes a lot of stress. Debt. It can often feel like this heavy chain, right? Holding you back from achieving financial freedom and just peace of mind.
It's a huge burden for many.
But our sources provide not only a stark look at its reality, but also practical solutions and maybe a fresh perspective on how to strategically tackle it. Expert, let's confront the beast first. That high-interest credit card debt.
It's truly a beast, and a significant one for millions of Americans. The reality is quite harsh, actually. The average U.S. household carries approximately $8,000 in credit card debt, and often at shockingly high interest rates, commonly around 23%.
23%? Wow.
Yeah. Our sources provide a powerful, really eye-opening illustration. If you have $8,000 in debt at 23% interest and you pay only the minimum monthly payment, which is typically around $240,
Okay.
it will take you approximately 4.5 years to pay off that debt.
4.5 years just paying minimums.
Yes, and during that time, you'll end up paying nearly $4,900 in interest alone.
Almost $5,000 in interest on $8,000 of debt.
Exactly. That's effectively 60% interest on your original debt. This clearly illustrates why credit card debt is considered toxic and just a monumental waste of your money. It's not just a financial trap, it's a drain that actively pulls you away from building wealth.
Okay, that paints a grim picture. So what are the solutions? If you're caught in that trap, what can you do?
Right. Our sources outline the top 5 strategies for tackling credit card debt, ranging in suitability and risk. First, probably the most common one people try, is a credit card balance transfer.
Okay, moving the debt to a new card.
Exactly. You move your existing high-interest credit card debt to a new credit card, typically one that offers a lower, often 0% introductory interest rate for a limited time, usually somewhere between 6 to 18 months.
0% sounds good.
It does. The pros are significant interest savings during that intro period, allowing more of your payments to go directly towards the principal balance. This can be a huge relief and a real game changer if used wisely.
Okay, what are the downsides, the if used wisely part?
Well, there are definitely cons. There's usually a balance transfer fee, typically 1 to 5% of the transferred amount, with the average around 2.5%. So it's not entirely free to move the money. And you must be acutely mindful of when that introductory rate expires, because the interest rate will then shoot up, sometimes even higher than the rate on your original card.
Ah, the rate jumps up.
Big time. It also results in a hard inquiry on your credit score when you apply for the new card, which can temporarily ding it. And crucially, to qualify for the best 0% offers, you generally need good or excellent credit. Usually a score between 690, 719 for good and 720, 850 for excellent.
So not everyone qualifies for the best deals.
Right. There might also be limitations, like you often can't transfer between cards from the same bank, or they might only approve you for a partial transfer if your credit score isn't top tier. So good credit is key here.
Okay, balance transfer is option one. What's two?
The second option, and this one comes with significant caveats and should be approached with extreme caution, is cashing out retirement accounts.
Using your 401k or IRA money, that sounds risky.
It is very risky. This involves using funds from your 401k, 403b, or IRA to pay off that high-interest debt immediately. The primary pro is, well, the immediate payoff of that toxic debt, which can offer immense psychological relief and potentially boost your credit score since the debt is gone.
Okay, relief is good, but the cons.
The cons are severe. This is a major setback to your retirement savings, as that money will no longer be invested in compounding for your future. You lose all that future growth. Plus, if you're under 59 and a half years old, you'll typically incur a 10% early withdrawal penalty from the IRS, plus the withdrawn amount is taxed as ordinary income in that year.
Penalty and taxes.
Yes. For example, our sources illustrate that a $10,000 withdrawal could shrink to just $6,800 after a 10% penalty and maybe a 22% federal tax rate. That's a 32% hit right off the bat. A significant loss of capital.
Ouch, that's steep.
Very steep. A less punitive alternative here, if your plan allows it, is a 401k loan. You borrow from yourself and pay the interest back to your own account, avoiding the penalties and immediate taxes. It keeps your retirement nest egg technically intact, but it still means you're not investing those funds while the loan is outstanding, and if you leave your job, you might have to repay it very quickly.
Okay, so retirement funds are a maybe last resort option. What's number three?
Third, consider a debt consolidation loan. This is a personal loan you take out specifically to combine multiple smaller high-interest debts into one single loan, usually with a lower overall interest rate and the simplicity of just one monthly payment.
Okay, simpler payments, maybe lower interest. What's the catch?
The pros are definitely lower interest potentially and streamlined payments, which can make managing your debt much less stressful. The cons include that some consolidation loans might require collateral, though many are unsecured. And it's absolutely essential to shop around diligently for the best rates and terms from multiple lenders, banks, credit unions, online lenders. It's also often wise to inquire with your existing financial institutions first, as they might offer better terms to existing customers as a loyalty incentive. Don't just jump at the first offer.
Shop around, good advice. Okay, option four.
The fourth solution is a home equity line of credit, HELOC. This is a revolving line of credit that's secured by your home, essentially using your home's equity, the value you own outright, as collateral.
Using your house as collateral, that sounds risky too.
It is. The pros are that it typically offers much lower interest rates than unsecured credit cards because it's collateralized, making it less risky for the lender, so the rates can be attractive. However, this option is extremely risky for you, the homeowner. The major con is that if you default on payments, your home is at direct risk of foreclosure.
You could lose your house.
Exactly. This option should really only be considered by those with substantial home equity and a very clear, disciplined plan for repayment, fully understanding the significant risk involved. It's a high-stakes move, used with extreme caution.
Definitely. Okay, what's the absolute last resort?
Finally, as a genuine last resort when other options are exhausted or unsuitable, there's bankruptcy. This is a legal process that can potentially wipe out some or all of your unsecured debts, offering a fresh start.
A fresh start sounds appealing.
It can be, and that's the obvious pro-significant debt relief. However, the cons are substantial. It's publicly reported on your credit report for 7, 10 years. It can be very costly, thousands of dollars in legal fees and court costs, and it's often a long, stressful process, months to years, depending on the type of bankruptcy. And crucially, it severely impacts your credit score for many years, making it very difficult to get loans, rent housing, get good insurance rates, or even secure certain jobs in the future. It's a step typically considered only when there's truly no hope of paying back your debts and you've exhausted all other viable avenues. It's a serious decision with long-lasting consequences.
Okay, those are the main solutions. But what about the idea of good debt versus bad debt? Our sources mention that debate.
Yes, they do. Our sources delve into that nuanced debate, acknowledging the differing philosophies of financial experts. You have people like Dave Ramsey, who generally advocates that all debt is bad and should be avoided at all costs.
Right. The debt is dumb philosophy.
Exactly. And then you have others, like Robert Kiyosaki, who distinguish between good debt, debt that potentially generates income, and bad consumer debt.
Yeah.
From this perspective, bad debt is clearly that consumer debt we've been talking about. Credit cards, personal loans for depreciating assets like cars for personal use, none of which generate income or appreciate in value.
Okay. And good debt.
Good debt, in Kiyosaki's view, is debt that helps you acquire an asset that generates income for you. The classic example is a loan taken out to buy an investment property where the rental income from tenants covers the mortgage payments and hopefully provides a cash flow profit. It's debt that essentially pays for itself and builds equity.
So debt used for investing.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Now, from the CPA's personal perspective in our sources, he admits he hates owing people money and personally tries to avoid debt as much as possible, valuing that stress-free financial life. However, he also acknowledges that while all debt is bad in an ideal world, maybe sometimes it's a necessary tool, especially when you have no money and need to make a strategic move to improve your situation, like education or starting a business. The key is to always weigh the pros and cons carefully. While paying off debt offers immense peace of mind and simplifies your financial life, there are indeed times when being more productive with your money than paying down your debt. For example, investing that money, if the potential returns significantly outweigh the low interest rate on your debt, like a mortgage, can be an acceptable, even optimal approach. Ultimately, borrowing money for big life steps like college, starting a business, or investing in a rental property requires a careful, case-by-case evaluation. It's definitely not a black and white issue.
That's a really helpful breakdown. It provides a clear roadmap, allowing you listening to make informed, strategic choices to break free from debt's grip, aligning with your larger financial blueprint rather than just reacting to the pressure.
Making informed choices is key. Hashtag tag 2.4, the power of your credit score.
All right, let's talk about something closely related to debt. Your credit score. It isn't just some random 3-digit number on a report, is it? It's like a dynamic financial reputation.
Absolutely.
And it profoundly impacts nearly every aspect of your financial life. From securing a home to getting the best interest rates, it really opens or closes doors. Expert, how powerful is this number really?
It's incredibly powerful, and its influence is often underestimated. Your credit score serves as a concise summary for third parties, lenders, landlords, insurers, even some employers. It basically tells them how likely you are, based on your past behavior, to pay back what you owe.
Your financial report card, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
A high score, typically 720 or higher, which earns you super prime status, truly opens doors and offers significant perks and savings. Conversely, a low score, say in the 300-629 range, categorized as subprime, can lead to frequent rejections, much higher costs for everything, and can even impact your personal life.
Okay, tell me about these perks of being super prime.
Let's talk about the incredible benefits of super prime status. First, and most obviously, you get significantly higher approval rates for financial products. Our sources state there's an 84% chance of credit card approval for super prime individuals compared to a mere 19% for those with subprime scores. Imagine the frustration of constantly being denied credit when you need it.
Yeah, that'll be tough.
Second, the rental process becomes much easier. If you have a high credit score, leasing offices tend to treat you well, often fast-tracking your application without needing extra steps like demanding cosigners or charging higher security deposits. Landlords see you as low risk.
Right, easier renting.
Third, and this is perhaps the most financially significant, a high score translates directly to better interest rates on major loans. We're talking mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, personal loans. Over the lifetime of these loans, this can literally save you thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. Think about even an extra half a percentage point on a 30-year mortgage. That adds up to a huge amount over 30 years.
Big savings.
Huge. Beyond the tangible financial benefits, a high score means you're generally deemed responsible and trustworthy. And our sources even point out, maybe surprisingly, that a low credit score can be a universal turnoff in personal life, including the dating market. Your financial reputation really precedes you in many ways.
Wow, okay, so it's important. How is this crucial number actually calculated? What goes into it?
Great question. Your credit score is based on 5 key factors, and they each have a different weight, which is really important for you to understand if you want to influence your score effectively. Number 1, and the biggest chunk, is payment history. 35%.
35%. Okay, the biggest one.
Yes. This is the most influential factor, the undisputed king of credit scoring. Consistent, on-time payments are absolutely paramount. Every single payment you make on time helps build a strong foundation. Conversely, late payments, those that are 30 days or more overdue, hurt your score significantly and remain on your credit report for 7 years. Yes. Though the good news is, while they stay on your report that long, their negative impact does lessen over time, and your score will begin to recover gradually as you continue to make on-time payments going forward. The goal should always be 100% on-time payments. Even a single 30-day late payment can have a noticeable negative impact.
Okay, pay bills on time. Got it. What's next?
Number 2 is amounts of debt credit utilization.
30%.
30%, almost as important. What's utilization?
This refers to how much of your available credit you are actually using at any given time. It's not just about the total amount of debt you have, but how much you're using relative to your total credit limits.
Yeah.
The lower your utilization ratio, the better. Ideally, you want to be in the 0–10% range for excellent status.
0 to 10%, okay.
High utilization, like using, say, 90% of your credit limit across your cards, is considered a very bad look to lenders. It suggests you might be overextended financially and relying too heavily on credit just to get by.
So how do you keep utilization low, besides paying down debt? Well, paying down debt is the best way. But our sources offer practical tips. You can request higher credit limits from your current lenders. If they approve it and your balance stays the same, your utilization percentage immediately drops.
Ah, raise the limit, lower the ratio.
Exactly. Also, consider paying down your credit card balances more frequently than just once a month when the statement comes out. Maybe pay it down right before the statement closing date, as that's often the balance reported to the credit bureaus. And crucially, do not close unused credit cards, especially older ones, even if you don't use them. Closing them reduces your total available credit and, in turn, increases your overall utilization percentage, which can inadvertently hurt your score. Keep them open, maybe use them occasionally for a small purchase to keep them active.
Okay, don't close old cards. Good tip. What's factor number 3?
Number 3 is length of credit history, 15%.
15%. So how long you've had credit?
Exactly. This factor considers how long you've had credit accounts open and, importantly, the average age of all your accounts combined. A longer history, for example, 24 years is considered good, and 25+ years is excellent, demonstrates more experience and responsibility with managing credit over time. This is why it's often advised to start building credit as early as responsibly possible, maybe with a single low-limit credit card that you pay off diligently every month. Your oldest account becomes particularly valuable over time.
So start early, keep accounts open long term. Okay, number 4.
Number 4 is credit mix, 10%.
Only 10%. What does that mean?
This accounts for having different types of credit accounts. For example, having a mix of revolving credit, like credit cards, and installment loans, like a mortgage, an auto loan, or a student loan where you pay fixed amounts over time. A diverse mix can slightly boost your score because it shows lenders you can successfully manage various types of debt obligations.
Should I open new accounts just to get a better mix?
Our sources generally advise against that. Don't open new accounts solely for this purpose. The benefit to your score is minimal compared to the potential risk of taking on unnecessary debt and the hard inquiries from applying. You don't need to have every single type of loan to have an excellent score. Focus on the bigger factors.
Okay. And the last factor, also 10%.
Yes. Number 5 is new credit hard inquiries, 10%. When you apply for new loans or credit like a mortgage, an auto loan, or a new credit card, the lender performs a hard inquiry or hard pull on your credit report to check your history. These hard inquiries temporarily lower your score by a few points and remain on your report for 2 years, although their impact lessens significantly after the first few months.
So applying for lots of credit can hurt your score.
Yes, too many inquiries in a short period can signal financial distress to lenders, making them wary. A smart tip from our sources: If you're shopping around for a major loan, like a mortgage or a car loan, multiple inquiries from lenders for that specific type of loan within a short time frame, typically about 2 weeks, sometimes longer, will often be treated as a single inquiry by the scoring models. So do your rate shopping strategically within that window.
Okay, shop quickly for big loans.
Right. Also, maybe plan your new credit card applications for times when you don't immediately need your score to be at its absolute peak, such as after you've just secured a mortgage or a car loan, not right before. And importantly, soft inquiries like checking your own credit report or those pre-approval offers you get in the mail do not harm your score at all. So check your own report as often as you like.
That's good to know. Okay, so those are the factors. What about quick fixes if your credit isn't great right now?
Yes, our sources highlight several effective methods for quick fixes for bad credit. The most impactful first step is to check your credit report regularly for errors. You can get free copies annually from each of the three major bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion via annualcreditreport.com. A surprising 25% of Americans, according to some studies, have errors on their reports. These inaccuracies can significantly drag down their score.
1 in 4. Wow.
Yeah. Disputing fraudulent charges or inaccurate information, like a debt reported incorrectly or an account that isn't yours, can significantly boost your score, sometimes by as much as 100 points almost overnight, as the CPA in our source material personally experienced when he corrected an error on his own report. It's relatively easy and free to do yourself through the credit bureau's websites. Don't pay companies to do this for you necessarily.
Okay, check for errors. What else?
Second, as we discussed under utilization, requesting a higher credit limit from your existing credit card companies can immediately lower your utilization percentage if your debt amount stays constant. Just call them up and ask. The worst they can say is no. And finally, the most crucial and fundamental step for both immediate improvement and long-term recovery is to consistently pay your bills on time, starting now. Even if you've had late payments in the past, making timely payments going forward is the single best thing you can do. It will gradually help your score recover and demonstrate to lenders that you are now a reliable borrower. It builds that positive payment history, which is the biggest factor.
Understanding these intricate factors and employing these fixes really allows you to strategically build and maintain a strong credit score. It unlocks better financial opportunities and solidifies your financial reputation for years to come. It truly is like your financial passport.
It really is. It affects so much. Hashtag tag 3. Building a strong financial future.
All right, let's move into building for the future. When it comes to building serious, sustainable wealth, the kind that truly provides long-term security, there's a fundamental distinction that many people, especially when they're just starting out or maybe they're blinded by the allure of quick riches online, tend to miss. It's the critical difference between investing and speculating. Expert, this is a topic you've shared some personal experience with, right? Can you elaborate on this? Why is this distinction so important?
Absolutely. This is a truly crucial distinction, and one I can speak to personally because, I'll be candid, early in my career, I made the mistake of speculating quite a bit. I was constantly hunting for that one stock, or later maybe that one crypto, that would deliver life-changing results. I sort of believed it was my only hope to shortcut the whole wealth-building process and escape what felt like the rat race.
Yeah, looking for that home run.
Exactly. I now realize that approach is really akin to gambling. It's driven more by hope and hype than by sound financial principles. And frankly, it was emotionally taxing and financially precarious. A lot of sleepless nights.
Okay, so let's define them clearly. What is investing?
Right. So investing, in its true sense, is about growing your money steadily and safely over the long term. It involves putting money into assets that have a proven track record of generating wealth over time with a clear expectation of long-term results. Not overnight riches.
Okay. Steady and safe. Long term.
Yes. The key characteristics of investing are that long-term focus, generally lower inherent risk compared to speculation, decisions based on fundamental analysis like a company's health, its earnings, its market position, or broad market trends. It emphasizes diversification to spread risk across many different assets so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And it relies on that powerful, quiet concept of compounding growth over years, even decades.
So like index funds.
Exactly. A prime example is consistently investing in a broad market diversified fund, like an S&P 500 index fund or a total stock market ETF. It might not sound exciting on a daily basis, watching paint dry sometimes.
Right.
But as our sources emphasize, time truly flies and those returns compound exponentially. You systematically put money in each month, maybe through your 401k or an IRA, and over years it builds up faster and more predictably than you might imagine. It's really about patience and discipline.
Okay, that's investing. Now, what's speculating in contrast?
In stark contrast, speculating is inherently high risk, high reward. And it is, as I mentioned, very similar to gambling. Its characteristics include a short-term focus, trying to make a quick buck. Decisions are often based on hype, fleeting rumors you see online, or simply gut feelings about what might pop next. There's usually little to no diversification. People often bet big on one or two things. And it's characterized by extremely high volatility, big swings up and down.
So, chasing hot tips, meme stocks, that kind of thing.
That often falls into speculation, yes. Why it's so dangerous. While yes, some people do get rich this way, just like some people win the lottery, our sources make it very clear that countless others fail, often losing significant amounts of money. The common mindset of, oh, I'm different, I do my research, it'll happen for me, often leads to the exact same outcome as those who just blindly follow a fad. The difference between research for investing, looking at long-term fundamentals, and research for speculating, often looking for an edge in a very short-term, maybe irrational market, is profound.
So, speculation isn't a reliable strategy.
Definitely not. Speculation is not a reliable wealth-building strategy. It's a high-stakes bet. Investing is the strategy.
Okay, so what's the practical advice then? Avoid speculating altogether.
The key advice, therefore, is clear. Rely on investing to build the core of your wealth, not speculation. Now, if you choose to speculate, and many people do, maybe for the thrill or that slim hope of a jackpot, do so in moderation. This means using a small, genuinely disposable amount of money. Money that won't jeopardize your fundamental financial future if you lose it all. Money you are truly prepared to lose entirely without it impacting your ability to pay bills, save for retirement, or meet your other essential financial goals.
Like maybe 5% of your portfolio max? Something like that.
That's a common guideline people use, yes.
Yeah.
A small percentage. The vast majority of your money, the money you've worked hard for and will rely on for your future, should be invested conservatively, using those investing principles we talked about. And this principle applies beyond just stocks and crypto. It applies to other assets like real estate, too. You want to focus on proven, conservative approaches, avoiding hyped-up fads like maybe certain collectibles, NFTs back when they were hot, or even highly leveraged real estate deals if your primary goal is steady, reliable wealth creation. The goal is predictable, safe growth, not hoping for a lucky jackpot.
That clear distinction is a real game changer for many people, I think. It shifts the focus from hoping for that lucky break to actually building a predictable and secure financial future through consistent, disciplined action. It really empowers you to build wealth rather than just gamble with it.
Couldn't agree more. It's a crucial mindset shift.
Expert, let's talk retirement. Planning for it can often seem like you're navigating this labyrinth of acronyms, 401k, IRA, Roth, 403b, and complex rules. It makes it incredibly difficult sometimes to know where to put your hard-earned money for the long haul.
It's definitely confusing for a lot of people.
But understanding the core differences between these popular accounts, especially the traditional 401k, the Roth IRA, and now the Roth 401k, is absolutely vital for retiring faster and with more financial security down the road. Can you break these down for us?
You're right. The options can be overwhelming at first glance, but breaking them down reveals pretty clear advantages and disadvantages that can help you choose what's best for your specific situation. Let's start with the most common one, the traditional 401k, which is the retirement plan typically offered by your employer.
Okay, the work plan. What are the pros?
The pros of a traditional 401k are quite compelling. First, and maybe the biggest one for many, is the significant tax deduction. Your contributions lower your taxable income in the current year. So, you pay less in taxes now. For someone in a high tax bracket today, this can be a powerful, immediate benefit.
Tax break now. Okay.
Second, and this is a huge one, is the potential for an employer match. Many companies offer this. For example, they might match 50% of your contributions up to 6% of your pay. This is essentially free money.
Free money is always good.
Always. It represents an immediate, significant return on your investment, sometimes 50% or even 100% on your contribution, depending on the plan. Critical advice from our sources, and I can't stress this enough, you should always, always contribute at least enough to get the full employer match. To not do so is simply leaving money on the table. It's the best return you'll ever get, guaranteed.
Get the match.
Got it.
Any other pros?
Third, 401ks generally have high contribution limits, allowing for aggressive saving. For instance, in 2023, the limit was $22,500 for employee contributions, plus catch-up if you're over 50. That's significantly higher than some other retirement accounts, enabling you to build substantial wealth more quickly if you can afford to contribute that much.
Okay, tax break now. Employer match. High limits.
Mm.
Sounds pretty good. What are the cons?
Right. There are definitely cons to consider for a traditional 401k. The biggest one is tax withdrawals. While you get that tax deduction now, the money you withdraw in retirement, both your contributions and all the earnings over the decades, will be taxed as ordinary income. You're essentially deferring your tax bill until retirement.
Pay taxes later. Okay.
Second, some 401k plans can come with higher fees compared to, say, IRAs. It's crucial to diligently check the expense ratios of the mutual funds or ETFs available within your specific plan. These seemingly small percentages can significantly eat into your long-term returns over 30 or 40 years.
Check the fees. Important.
Very important. Third, you often have limited investment options. You're usually restricted to a curated selection of funds chosen by your plan administrator, which might not align perfectly with specific investment interests you have outside of standard, broad-based funds. You might not be able to buy individual stocks, for example.
Okay, limited choices.
Fourth, there are typically early withdrawal penalties, generally a 10% penalty from the IRS if you withdraw money before age 59 and a half, on top of the regular income tax, although there are some exceptions for specific circumstances like hardship withdrawals, qualified first-time home purchases, or disability. And finally, traditional 401ks and traditional IRAs are subject to required minimum distributions, RMDs. This means you must start withdrawing money from the account, typically starting at age 73 now, based on your life expectancy, whether you actually need the money or not. The government wants its tax revenue eventually.
RMDs. Okay. Now, what about the Roth IRA? How is that different?
Okay, let's look at the Roth IRA. This is a retirement plan that you set up yourself outside of your employer's offerings, usually through a brokerage firm or mutual fund company.
So when you open on your own. Pros.
The pros of a Roth IRA are incredibly attractive, especially the tax treatment. The most significant benefit is tax-free withdrawals in retirement. All your contributions and all the earnings over the years are 100% tax-free when you withdraw them, provided you meet certain conditions, like having the account open for at least 5 years and being over age 59.5. This means you never pay taxes on those potentially decades of growth.
Tax-free growth and withdrawals. That sounds amazing.
It is a huge benefit. Second, you generally have more investment options compared to a typical 401k, depending on the brokerage you choose. You can often invest in individual stocks, a much wider array of ETFs and mutual funds, bonds, REITs, and other securities. More freedom.
More control.
Okay. Third, Roth IRAs are known for often having minimal fees. Intense competition among providers means you can usually find accounts with very low administrative fees and access to low-cost index funds or ETFs, allowing more of your money to work for you.
Lower fees.
Fourth, there are no required minimum distributions, RMDs, during the original owner's lifetime. You are not forced to withdraw money at any age, allowing the funds to continue growing tax-free potentially for your entire life, and offering potentially larger estate planning benefits if you intend to pass it on. And fifth, a unique feature. You can withdraw your direct contributions, but not the earnings, from a Roth IRA at any time, for any reason, tax and penalty free. This offers a surprising level of flexibility and liquidity in case of a true emergency, making it a bit less scary to lock money away.
Withdraw contributions anytime. That's
Oh.
interesting. Okay, what are the cons of a Roth IRA?
The main cons of a Roth IRA include, first and foremost, no upfront tax deduction. Your contributions are made with after-tax money. That's the fundamental trade-off for getting those tax-free withdrawals in retirement. Pay tax now or pay tax later.
Right, the tax timing difference.
Exactly. Second, Roth IRAs have lower contribution limits than 401ks. For 2023, the limit was $6,500 plus a catch-up if over 50. This makes it harder to save aggressively solely through this vehicle, especially compared to the $22,500 plus limit on 401ks.
Lower limit, okay.
And third, there are income limitations for making direct contributions. If your modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, exceeds certain thresholds for 2023, it was $153,000 for single filers, phasing out completely by $161,000, and $228,000 for married filers, phasing out by $240,000, you may be disqualified from contributing directly to a Roth IRA.
So high earners might not qualify.
Directly, yes. However, it's worth a quick mention that there's a well-known workaround for this, often called the backdoor Roth IRA, which legally allows those above the income limits to get money into a Roth IRA through a conversion process. It's a bit more complex, but doable.
Okay, the backdoor Roth. Good to know. Now, what about this third option, the Roth 401k?
Right, the Roth 401k. This is becoming more common. Some employers now offer this option within their 401k plan. It essentially combines some features of both the traditional 401k and the Roth IRA.
The best of both worlds.
Kind of. Its pros are significant. You get tax-free withdrawals in retirement, just like a Roth IRA, but you also get the higher contribution limits of a traditional 401k, that same $22,500 in 2023. And crucially, there are no income limitations for contributing to a Roth 401k, making it accessible to everyone regardless of how much you earn. You can also still get the employer match, though the match typically goes into a separate traditional pre-tax account.
Okay, tax-free withdrawals, high limits, no income cap. What's the con?
The main con is the same as the Roth IRA. No upfront tax deduction for your contributions. You're paying taxes on that money now, in your current tax bracket, in exchange for that promise of tax-free growth and withdrawals later. Roth 401ks are also subject to RMDs, like traditional 401ks, although you can often roll them over to a Roth IRA to avoid RMDs if needed.
Okay, so the big decision is still pay tax now, Roth, or pay tax later.
That's the core decision, yes. So which one should you choose, or should you use a mix? The golden rule, again, is always prioritize contributing enough to your 401k, either traditional or Roth, to get the full employer match if one is offered. That's immediate free money, an instant guaranteed return you simply can't get anywhere else. Don't leave that on the table.
But get the match first, absolutely.
Absolutely. Beyond that match amount, the choice between traditional and Roth largely depends on your personal circumstances and your educated guess about the future. Do you prefer a tax deduction now, traditional 401k IRA, or tax-free income in retirement, Roth IRA, Roth 401k? This often comes down to your current income and tax bracket versus what you project your income and tax bracket will be in retirement. If you think you'll be in a higher tax bracket in retirement than you are now, maybe you're early in your career, Roth is likely better pay the lower tax rate now. If you think you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, maybe you're peaking in earnings now, traditional might be better take the deduction now at the higher rate.
Or maybe do both.
Exactly. You can also contribute to both types of accounts if you have the financial capacity, maybe maxing out a Roth IRA and contributing to a traditional 401k, or splitting contributions between Roth and traditional within your 401k if your plan allows. This gives you tax diversification in retirement, meaning some income will be taxable, some won't, giving you flexibility.
And what about how to invest inside these accounts?
Right. When it comes to the investment strategy within these plans, our sources strongly advise keeping it simple, especially for your core retirement money. Focus on diversification. Don't put everything in one stock or sector. Use broad-based, low-cost index funds or target date funds. Maintain a relatively low-risk approach appropriate for long-term retirement goals, though your risk tolerance can be higher when you're younger. And critically, always pay attention to funds with low expense ratios. Avoid funds with high fees, as those fees compound over decades and can significantly erode your wealth. Even a 0.5% difference in fees per year can mean tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars less in retirement over a long career. Keep costs low.
Understanding these nuances truly allows you to craft a retirement strategy that maximizes your savings and minimizes future tax burdens, really securing your financial future more rapidly. It takes the mystery out of all those confusing acronyms.
Hopefully. It's about making an informed choice for your situation. Hashtag 3.3, the reality of home affordability today.
All right, let's tackle another huge financial milestone for many people, owning a home. It's often seen as a core part of the American dream, right? A powerful symbol of stability, building personal equity, maybe even generational wealth.
It's a major goal for many.
But our sources shine a very bright and, frankly, sometimes pretty harsh light on the challenging reality of home affordability, especially in today's market with current interest rates. Expert, let's talk about the cold, hard numbers. What's the situation look like?
Yeah, the housing market right now indeed presents a very tricky and often frustrating situation for prospective homeowners. It's tough out there. Let's start with a foundational principle that has been a cornerstone of sound financial planning for decades, the 28% rule.
The 28% rule.
Okay.
What's that?
This is a long-standing golden rule for home budgeting. It states that you should ideally spend no more than 28% of your gross, that's your pre-tax income, on your total monthly housing costs. And critically, this isn't just your mortgage principal and interest payment. It should also include property taxes and homeowners insurance. This whole bundle is often referred to as PITI principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
PITI. Okay. 28% of gross income for all of that. Why is that rule so important?
Why it matters so profoundly. While banks and mortgage lenders might very well approve you for a much larger loan amount than this rule would suggest, sometimes pushing you towards 40% or even higher, their primary goal is to maximize their profit by lending as much money as possible, hopefully without you defaulting. Their goal isn't necessarily your long-term financial comfort or overall well-being.
Right, they want to make the loan.
Exactly. Going significantly beyond this 28% rule often leads to becoming house poor.
House poor. Heard that term.
Yeah. It's a situation where far too much of your monthly income is tied up just in housing expenses, leaving very little left over for other crucial needs like food, transportation, utilities, or for savings for investing in your retirement, paying down other debt, or simply for enjoying life. It can lead to significant financial stress, constant worry, and even, in some unfortunate cases, loss of the home if unexpected expenses arise or income drops. It means the home becomes a burden, not the asset you hoped it would be.
Okay, stick to 28% if possible. How do interest rates play into this?
Oh, the impact of interest rates on home affordability cannot be overstated. It's a massive lever. Interest rates profoundly affect how much home you can actually afford for any given monthly extent you're comfortable with.
How big of an impact?
Our sources provide a really stark illustration. A shift from a historically low 3% interest rate, which we saw just a few years ago, to a 7% interest rate on a typical 30-year fixed mortgage can mean that for the exact same monthly PITI payment, you can afford a home that is anywhere from 40% to 53% less expensive.
40 to 50% less house for the same payment.
Yes, it's a dramatic difference. And as of 2024-2025, the going mortgage interest rate mentioned in the sources is hovering around 7%, which makes this impact incredibly real for anyone trying to buy right now. It means your purchasing power for a home has been dramatically reduced compared to just a few years ago, even if actual home prices haven't fallen much or have even continued to rise in some areas.
Wow. Okay, so that leads to the affordability issue.
This brings us directly to the current affordability crisis. The numbers presented in our sources are truly shocking and highlight a significant disconnect in the market. As of the time of the video's making, the median household income in the U.S. is approximately $83,000 per year. At the same time, the median home price nationally is around $400,000.
80,000 income, 400,000 house price. That doesn't sound like it matches the 28% rule.
It doesn't match at all. Let's put that into perspective using the 28% rule we just discussed. An $80,000 household income at a 7% interest rate with typical taxes and insurance can realistically afford a home priced at only about $245,000, $257,000.
Way less than the $400,000 median.
Significantly less. The sources explicitly state that even at household incomes of $100,000 or even $125,000 per year, a new home buyer still cannot comfortably afford the average medium-priced home in America at current rates and prices using that 28% guideline. This clearly demonstrates the significant and widespread home affordability crisis facing many aspiring homeowners today. It's not just a perception people have, it's a mathematical reality based on incomes, prices, and rates.
That's sobering. So what can you do if you're feeling this crunch? Are there ways to make it work or lower the payments?
Yes, there are some things you can do. Here are some practical tips to lower monthly payments if you are looking to buy or perhaps refinance an existing mortgage down the road. First, as we discussed earlier, increase your credit score as much as possible before you apply for a mortgage. A higher score leads directly to a lower interest rate offered by lenders, which can save you a significant amount of money every month and thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. Every point helps.
Better score, lower rate. Makes sense.
Second, make a larger down payment, if possible. By putting more money down up front, you borrow less principal, which directly lowers your monthly mortgage payment, both principal and interest. However, as our source wisely cautions, it's crucial to balance this with maintaining a healthy emergency fund. Don't deplete all your cash savings just to hit a 20% down payment if it leaves you with nothing for unexpected events. Liquidity is still important.
Don't wipe out savings.
Okay.
Third, and this is more of a future hope for many right now, if interest rates drop meaningfully in the future, and many economists expect they might eventually, though nobody knows when or by how much refinancing your mortgage with lower interest rates can significantly reduce your monthly payments, potentially unlocking substantial financial flexibility. So keep an eye on rates even after you buy.
Okay. Improve credit, bigger down payment, hope for lower rates. What if you just can't afford a home right now? Right. If you're currently in a position where you look at the numbers and realize you're just not ready to buy a home that meets your needs in your desired area, it's vital to understand that you are absolutely not alone. Millions of Americans are in the exact same situation, with the median household income simply unable to afford the median-priced home comfortably.
So don't feel bad about it.
Definitely not. Our sources offer smart ways to prepare and not lose hope if homeownership is still your goal. You can, obviously, save more aggressively for a larger down payment. This will put you in a stronger position later and require you to borrow less when the time comes. You can actively focus on increasing your income through promotions at work, seeking new, higher-paying job opportunities, or even developing a side hustle to boost your earnings potential. You can also choose to wait for potentially better market conditions, hoping for either lower interest rates or perhaps a correction, a drop in home prices, although timing the market perfectly is always difficult, if not impossible. And finally, perhaps consider shared purchase options. This could mean buying a home with a family member, like a parent or sibling, or maybe a trusted partner or friend. Combining resources can help make homeownership more accessible and spreads the financial burden and risk.
Okay, those are practical steps.
Yes. The crucial advice here, though, echoing the 28% rule, is not to push beyond your realistic financial limits just to get into a house. This rarely ends well. Many people become overwhelmed, incredibly stressed, house poor, and some, unfortunately, even end up losing their homes by taking on mortgage payments they couldn't truly handle long term, especially if something unexpected happened.
That's a tough reality for many of you out there listening, but understanding these numbers is so important. It prevents overstretching and helps ensure that if and when you do buy, your home becomes an asset that contributes to your financial well-being, not a crushing burden. It's a powerful reminder. Don't let a lender's pre-approval amount be your sole guide. Stick to what is truly sustainable for your financial future and your peace of mind.
Well said. Sustainability is key.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, including taxes and complex situations like stock options or S-corp. With all this talk about taxes, deductions, strategies, a common and very practical question arises. When is it actually worth paying for a professional tax accountant, like a CPA?
It's a really good question.
It's about optimizing for both cost and financial health, but also maybe about recognizing your own limits or where you need help. What do our sources say? When should you hire a pro?
It is a great question, and the answer isn't a universal yes for absolutely everyone. Our sources, coming directly from a practicing CPA, provide some really candid and, I think, ethical advice on this.
Okay, so when is it maybe not worth it?
Right. Let's start there. When it's probably not worth it to hire an accountant. If you have a truly simple and straightforward tax return, the CPA in our sources says you can often prepare it yourself using tax software like TurboTax, H&R Block Online, etc., and achieve the exact same result, the same refund or amount owed as paying an accountant hundreds of dollars.
What counts as simple?
This typically includes individuals who have just a single W-2 job, maybe some basic interest income from a savings account, a 1099 INT, maybe some straightforward stock sales where you just get a simple 1099-B form showing your cost basis and proceeds, perhaps a standard mortgage interest deduction, 1098, or student loan interest payments, 1098E. Basic stuff.
Okay, pretty standard situations.
Exactly. In these it really is. If you fall into that camp and you can comfortably afford the luxury of outsourcing it, hiring an accountant can provide immense value just in terms of convenience, saving you time, and avoiding that annual anxiety. For many, this alleviation of a dreaded, time-consuming task is well worth the fee. It's about valuing your time and your mental health.
Okay, convenience is one reason. What about complexity?
Yes, more critically, an accountant's expertise is absolutely crucial and can save you from potentially very costly errors or significantly optimize your tax outcome in complex financial situations. This is where they really earn their fee. Our sources highlight several specific examples where you definitely shouldn't try to be a hero and DIY your taxes. First, dealing with stock options like NQSOs or ISOs or RSU, restricted stock unit sales from your employer. These can be incredibly complex to report correctly for tax purposes.
Why are they so complex?
They involve intricate rules around when the option vests, when you exercise it, when you sell the resulting shares, all of which impact how it's taxed. Sometimes it's taxed as ordinary income on your W-2, sometimes as short-term or long-term capital gains, and certain types, ISOs, can even trigger the alternative minimum tax, AMT. It's messy. Errors here can be very costly, as the source puts it, potentially running into thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in overpaid taxes or penalties if you mess it up. The strong advice here is don't try to be a hero. Don't attempt to do it yourself if you're dealing with these. Get professional help from someone experienced with equity compensation.
Okay, stock options, RSUs, he's called a CPA.
Yeah.
What else?
Second, having an S corporation. If you operate your business as an S Corp, our source says hiring an accountant is pretty much a must. This business structure requires careful planning to be effective. You need to optimize payroll for yourself, paying yourself a reasonable salary versus taking distributions. And you need a thorough understanding of various business tax deductions and credits to truly reap the primary tax benefits of an S Corp, which mainly involve potential savings on self-employment taxes.
So you need help to get the S-Corp benefits.
Yes. Without professional guidance, you're likely missing out on significant tax savings that this structure is designed to offer, and you could even run into compliance issues with the IRS regarding that reasonable salary requirement. An accountant is key here.
Any other complex examples?
Yeah, the sources imply other complex scenarios too. Things like having complex rental property situations, multiple properties, depreciation calculations, cost segregation studies, dealing with international income or foreign accounts, having significant or complex cryptocurrency transactions beyond just simple buying and selling, like staking, mining, DeFi, or if you've inherited substantial assets with complex basis rules. Basically, anytime your financial life moves significantly beyond a standard W-2 job and a few common deductions, a CPA can be an invaluable investment.
Okay, so the takeaway is,
Why this matters. The goal here is to empower you to avoid unnecessary fees for simple situations where you can confidently handle things yourself, perhaps with the help of good tax software. But equally important is recognizing that in complex scenarios, professional guidance from a qualified tax accountant isn't just an expense, it's a strategic investment. It can protect you from significant financial mistakes, ensure you remain compliant with ever-evolving tax laws, and help you maximize all the legal tax benefits available to you. It helps you truly unlock your financial blueprint without unnecessary headaches or potentially much larger costs down the road from errors. It's about being smart with your resources and knowing when to ask for help.
that makes perfect sense. Knowing when to DIY and when to call in the experts ensures you allocate your resources wisely, optimizing for both cost and your overall financial health. Hashtag outro. Wow, what a deep dive. We've really journeyed through a lot today, haven't we? From those foundational habits of managing your money day to day.
The tracking and the payday routine.
Exactly. All the way through the intricacies of tax optimization, finding those credits and deductions, and managing debt strategically.
Tackling that credit card debt, understanding good versus bad debt.
Right. And then moving into strategic wealth building, like the crucial difference between investing and speculating, and navigating those major financial decisions like retirement accounts and the tough realities of homeownership today.
Yeah, our goal was really to provide you with actionable insights, pulling from that expert CPA perspective in our sources, trying to turn what might seem like overwhelming information into understandable and hopefully practical steps. And remember, financial success isn't reserved for just a select few people. It's built on consistent, informed choices. Doesn't matter where you start or what your income level is. The principles really remain the same.
That's a great point. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? The power truly lies in your hands. Consider how proactively managing these financial levers now, from something as simple as starting to track your spending, to maybe strategically adjusting your W-4 withholding, or getting a better handle on your retirement options, or even just recognizing when it's time to bring in a professional for help. How doing these things can dramatically shift not just your bank account balance, but your freedom, your peace of mind, your stress levels, and your opportunities over the next decade and beyond. So the final thought for today is, what one change, no matter how small it seems right now, will you make today to positively impact your financial tomorrow?